Hey,
Yeah,
how's it going, Matt?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Did you get my email?
I did just now. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I that's the only explanation that was ever given to me. So, yeah.
Makes sense.
Sometimes it's a pain in the butt, though, when you're spread out all over the whole court, right? Because it's transition and you call a foul, then you got to both, go quite a ways to.
Right. That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
I don't write the books. I just teach them. So, you ready to get on the floor now? You know everything there is, huh?
You know how it is. I don't feel prepared at all, but I'm excited to do it anyway.
Yeah, I just wrote yesterday. I try to check in with like new classes every month or so during their first year just to make sure everything's okay and
Yeah.
and I just wrote yesterday to the fall class, and so many of them wrote back and said, "Oh my God, this is so much fun." And I mean
Well, that's great.
they had almost nothing. They didn't have a scrimmage. Um,
Really?
Yes, they had one scrimmage, but they didn't have any like we do on Thursdays at the Boys and Girls Club. We couldn't do any of that. We had to do everything online.
Oh, wow.
So
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine. I was just deer in the headlights the whole time, on Saturday, but I can't imagine getting beyond that at this point. I know it'll happen. Just
well, I
takes
remember
time.
the first year that I started reffing one of the state tournaments. I think it was the boys 3A or boys. I think it was the boys 3A tournament. Was at the Mercer Arena, down there at the Seattle Center.
Oh, yeah.
There's an old arena.
Yeah.
And so they were asking for volunteers, so I was an usher, and I'm watching these guys ref, and and the play just seemed so wild and scattered, and I thought there's no way I'm ever going to be able to ref this. you know
Yeah. I
and now
can't.
it's fun, so
Yeah,
it happens. It just, it's an evolution.
I'm looking forward to it. How
Yeah.
long have you been reffing?
Oh my goodness, I would say this is my 21st year.
Wow.
So not as much as like Mike that was on last week. He's done it for, I don't know, a lot longer than me. And we have a lot of members who are in like the 20s and 30s,
Yeah.
which is why we need to get some fresh blood. You know, Bodies only last so long. I mean, there's a guy that used to ref in our group that and it wasn't because he was so old, it just was a freak thing. He had a heart attack after a game and died in the parking lot.
Wow.
And nobody even knew. Like he worked some games, rec games, and then he didn't feel well, so his partners just told him to go, and he got in his car and he never got home, and yeah, they found him in his car.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really tragic.
Well, I'm going to be 60 next month, so I'm pretty old for a rookie. I don't know
Yeah,
how many years. I don't know how many years I'm going to get in, but I hope it's.
I think
I
I
hope it's enough.
I have hope for you. Where did Davi go? He was just on and now he's not. What's going on, Jonathan?
Hi there, Stacy. Hey, everyone.
Hey,
Oh, there he is. What time? We got 6:04. All right. When it gets to be 6:05, we're going. And if people come in late, they come in late. What's going on, Jay? I want to see your beautiful face.
I would if my computer, I'm waiting for my replacement. Everything fritzed out Sunday, so
Oh,
they're gonna leave it for me at the front door since we're not allowed to go into the office yet, and I'll pick it up then.
okay. All right. Guess we'll just listen to your voice. Hey,
Have
Davi,
a-
what's your story? Do you have a camera or a microphone? He's
Plus,
just,
Saturday you said I have a face for radio, so
yeah, exactly.
with a mask on, you said that, but it's okay.
What can I say? I know who I can bust their chops, and you're one of them. Okay, so I am going to start by going over the quizzes from the two rules we went over last week, which are 6 and 10. And unless you have specific questions, I'm just going to go over the ones that more of you got wrong than got right. Okay. So there's one, question 2 says the ball becomes dead after a made basket. What's the answer? True or false?
I said false.
True.
Okay. It's true. And if you look in your book, do you have your books with you, you guys?
It's right
Yeah.
in front of me.
If you look at rule 671, you will see, let me see if I can read it to you. It's kind of one of those things that when, you know, I've been playing forever. And then when I heard this, I'm like, the ball's still live. But
Yeah.
after it goes through the basket and before a player gets control to do anything, it's dead. So if there's a foul in there, it's either going to be nothing or it's going to be a technical because the ball's dead.
Yeah, it's confusing because the clock's running. That's
I know.
that's why it
That's
seems like
also
it's not a dead ball.
Either coach can call a timeout at that point because the ball's dead.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's why I said that, because the clock's still running.
I think that's why I got that wrong.
Yeah, the ball becomes dead or remains dead when a goal, as in rule 5-1, is made. So,
Yeah.
you know, all this live ball, dead ball stuff, you think like, who cares? But you have to know when the ball's live, it's easy. There's only 3 times it becomes live, right? But there's a bunch of different when it becomes dead, and then there's exceptions to when it becomes dead. And it's important that you know what those things are because, you know, like a foul during a dead ball is a technical. And if the ball's dead, then you can't score points. And you know,
Right.
you just need to know those. Okay, let me cruise through here. Here's another one. This is kind of a trick question. I think you all know the answer to this, but the wording is kind of tricky. So the question, it says the alternating possession arrow is set toward the bench of the team entitled to the next possession. So the only time we have the alternating possession arrow is set towards the bench. It's not set towards the bench. It's set towards the direction that the team's going.
Right.
So in the first
Yeah.
half, it's going to go opposite their bench, right? Because they're shooting at the other end of the basket of the floor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I know we were talking, I think I was talking with you, Matt, on Saturday about how you keep track. Do you face the table? Like, you know, was it you? I was talking with somebody
Yeah,
about
it was. I was
even like a coin in your pocket or something.
wondering about it too.
Yeah. All right. How about, here's this one. B2 has started a try for a field goal, but has yet to release the shot when A3, so the defense, is whistled for a foul against B3, not the shooter. B2 then releases the shot and the ball goes in the basket. Official rules that the ball is dead when the whistle blows and disallows the shot. Is this ruling correct? Scott, are
I
you
got that
there?
wrong.
There we go. Did you hear the question I just read?
I heard the, is this correct?
Oh, okay. So I'm on offense. I'm getting ready to shoot the ball. One of the defenders fouls one of my teammates. And then, you know, I just keep shooting the ball goes in the basket. And the official rules that the ball is dead when the whistle blew and disallows the shot. Is this correct?
Yeah, I would guess no. I want to think if the shot was released, it definitely would be no. But I think in the act of shooting, it would still allow the play to continue. I don't know.
Well, you at least you know what the distinction is. So the answer is no, it's not correct. And this is one of those things that I had to learn the hard way by screwing it up in a game. So it's pretty simple once you just, it's one of these exceptions to the live ball, to the dead ball section of the rule. If the offense is in the act of shooting and the ball's not been released and the defense commits a foul against one of the other offensive players, then if the shot goes in, it counts.
Yeah.
Okay, but if the offense is in the act of shooting without yet releasing the ball, and an offensive player creates a foul, then it doesn't count.
Right.
Which seems only fair, right? Because you don't want to reward the offense for doing something illegal. If the ball's released in either situation, it's going to count. Because once the ball's released, it's not dead until it finishes.
Yeah.
Okay. And
It's,
I know
because of-
Jonathan's probably trying to find it in his book. If you look at the end of Rule 6 at Section 7, dead ball, it says down here, so
Yeah,
it
the
says,
exception.
see, Article 7 says the ball becomes dead when a foul other than a player control or team control foul occurs, except, see exceptions A, B, and C below. And if you look down in exception C, says the ball does not become dead until the try or tap for field goal ends, or until, this doesn't read very well. Article 7, which is the one where if there's a foul, then the ball is dead. Article 7 occurs by any opponent so a foul occurs by any opponent of a player who has started a try or tap for field goal, i.e. is in the act of shooting before the foul occurred, providing time did not expire before the ball was in flight. The trying motion shall be continuous and begins after the ball comes to rest in the player's hands and is completed when the ball is clearly in flight. So essentially, you just have to decide if the defense commits a foul when an offensive player is in the act of shooting. You just have to decide if are they in the act of shooting or are they not. Okay, that's a judgment. What else? So there was one more that a bunch of you guys got wrong.
That one's not easy, especially if you're tapping the ball like in a scrum. You jump up and you tap it in. I mean, I don't know.
There's a lot. It's hard, and it's really hard if like one person's probably looking at the foul and one person's probably looking at the shooter, and now you have to have wide enough eyes to know if you're calling the foul to see off in the distance that the player's in the act of shooting. Because if one of you doesn't see both, then you can't decide, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Matt could say, well, she was in the act of shooting, and I could say, well, there was a foul, but I don't know if it was before or after, and then where are we? So it's as you ref more, your vision gets wider, and you see a lot more stuff out of your periphery, but it's still a tough call, especially with only 2 officials. Okay, last one. B5 fumbles a rebound and the ball goes directly above Team A's basket. The ball is on the ring when the horn sounds to end the quarter and subsequently enters the basket. Is Team A credited with 2 points? Jay,
No,
I said yes.
did anybody say no?
I did,
Why?
because it wasn't a shot attempt. It has to be,
Correct.
a shot attempt.
Has to be a shot attempt. That was not a shot attempt. And that's, Jonathan, since you have your book, it's 676 and exception A. So that's
So,
that's
again,
that dead ball section. Okay. And it basically, it says there has to be a try or tap for field goal in flight, but that's not a try or tap for field goal, so it doesn't count. It's these rules are they're overwhelming to start with, but after a while you keep reading this book. Like I read through it almost every
It makes
year.
sense. It makes
So-
sense because it's not your basket.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But I would have a hard time calling that in the game because people are going to lose their mind
Oh
when
yeah.
because again, so the way I read it is somebody took a shot, they went up for rebound. To me, they tipped it and it went in.
Well,
So
if you
inadvertent-
think it was a shot attempt, if you think it was a tip, then it counts.
Because I saw rebound, so that's why I assumed the ball's up there, everyone jumped for it, and B tipped it in, and it's going to count.
The key is the B's on defense, right?
Yeah,
But they're, again, it's like I said, I don't think I would blow my whistle and say, oh, no, didn't count, because especially if there's multiple hands in the air at the time, how do
Yeah.
you? Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
it's, again,
Yeah,
it's a tough
it's super hard.
call. And since you know that the shit's gonna hit the fan when you call it, you better know the rule and understand it enough to explain it,
Yeah, for sure.
okay? It's the same as that over and back call. When the defense knocks it off the offense's leg, it goes into the backcourt, the offense picks it up, that's over and back. You better be able to explain that to the coach if you're gonna call it, because you can't be the last to touch in the front court and the first in the back court. And if it bounces off your leg in the front court and you go back to get it, it's over and back. That's another really unpopular call.
wait, so say that one more time. I'm dribbling it across and it goes off the defender's leg or my own
No, it
leg?
goes, so you're the offensive player, you dribble into the front court, right? So now you have front court status,
Yeah,
but you're real near the mid-court line. Then your defender pokes the ball loose. It goes off your leg, goes into the back court, and you retrieve it. That's over and back.
But any other player in your team can get the ball.
No.
No. If the offense can't be the first to touch, the last to touch it in the front court and the first to touch it in the back court.
Awesome.
So if it goes right out the defender into the back court, you can go and get it. Okay,
I can see how that'd be a wildly difficult call.
I saw
Exactly.
our officials make that call in like a regional game or a conference championship for Metro, or I mean, it was a big game and the gym was packed, and this guy I was like, oh, is he gonna call it? And he called it, and the place just went nuts. And the coach went nuts, but he explained it to him. Okay,
To the T or before the T?
there was no T because when the guy called it, he knew that the coach would react, and so he was on it. You know, instead of letting the coach just go nuts without any acknowledgement, the guy knew what it was going to bring. He handled it really well. Okay, so now I'm going to look at quiz 10, which is the fouls rule. There were a few here also that the majority of you got wrong. So here's the first one. In the first quarter, A2 commits a violation of the throw-in boundary plane, and Team A receives a delay of game warning. So A2 sticks their arm across the boundary line when somebody's trying to make a throw-in. In the third quarter, A5, a different player, interferes with the ball following a made basket. The official assesses a player technical foul against A5. Is this ruling correct? Again, this is the devil's in the details on this one. A technical foul will be assessed. However, it's not going to be assessed to the player. It's not fair, right? A different player committed the first delay of game, another player commits the second delay of game. So why are you can't penalize that second player. He only did it once. So it's going to be a team foul, a team technical. It's not going to be.
Assessed to the coach?
No, I'm gonna tell you this. Hold on a second. 10-2-1E. It's just there's all different kinds of technicals. There's admin technicals for, you don't have names in the book, or you call an extra timeout. That's not an admin technical. Then there's team technicals. This is one of the team technicals. There's player technicals, sub technicals, bench technicals. There's all these different varieties. So in this case, that would be a team technical foul. It still counts as a team foul, like in your count when you're counting up to 7 and 10, but it's not assessed to a player.
have
Okay.
you
It's not one of
typically
their
called
5
those?
fouls.
Say again?
It's not one of the players' 5 fouls. Then.
Correct. It just counts in the team
bonus.
foul count. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Those are all good. It's probably because only 3 people took this as of the time I printed it. Oh, here's another one. Okay. A1 is driving for a layup and B5 is in the lane when the players collide. Both officials blow their whistles, with one giving a preliminary signal of a block and the other indicating a player control foul. We call that a blarge. It's the worst nightmare ever. The try goes in the basket. The officials disallow the score, report fouls on both A1 and B5, and award the ball to team A, who was entitled to the next alternating possession. Is this ruling correct? I think when you answered it, you just guessed, right?
I think it was the very last one I answered. And
Yeah,
if I remember right, it's a double foul. Is that right? It's a
it's a
double foul. And so the way I had it in my mind, you basically, the fouls cancel each other out. In a sense, there's no shots, no free throws are taken.
Yeah, so you have a double foul, and what happens when you have a double foul? You
Oh,
no, when you have a double foul, like a double foul in the paint or any kind of double foul, the ball, you don't have shots, and the ball gets put back in play at the point of interruption. So the point
To
of
the
interruption
team.
is where the ball was when the foul was called, right? So let's say the posts are banging and you call a double foul. Then,
Oh, right.
but the ball is out on the perimeter somewhere, or the point guard's still playing around with the ball, right? So you call the double foul, you report there's no shots, even if you're in the bonus, and then the ball comes inbounds to the offensive team closest to where the ball was. So it's going to be higher up the sideline. Okay. So in this case, since the point of interruption was the ball was like up in the air, right? There was no team control. You have to go to the AP arrow to figure out what happens after you report the double foul. So that's why in this case you have to use the AP arrow.
and the ball's taken out at the point of interruption, and the shot counts.
No shot.
No, the shot doesn't count.
So that's the point of the question.
You know what?
'Cause
I
the
thought
player
that
control is
that
dead
the
ball,
try
right?
counted. I thought that the
Doesn't
try
player
counted. I
control,
will get back to you on this one because I think there's a case play that I will find.
I think
doesn't
the
the
point
player
should
control
count.
make the ball dead?
Say again?
Doesn't the player control, there's two fouls. One is like a block and one is a player control. And the player control is a dead ball then, right?
Right.
Well, why does that carry more weight than the block?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't,
It doesn't,
it
but the
happened
points
though.
wouldn't count. Yeah, that's the way I read it too.
According to that logic, the answer makes sense, but for some reason I thought you would count the basket. If you did count the basket, then the ball would go to the other team, right? To run the end
Correct.
line.
Yeah.
You would use the AP arrow.
Right.
Let me check that one out. I'm going to get back to you.
Does that happen for technical fouls too? If you have players that are jawing off on each other and you do technical fouls, two technical fouls, whatever happens, it goes to the alternating possession.
No, it goes to the point of interruption.
So okay.
If a team has if there's team control, double fouls always go to the point of interruption. So that means whatever the shot clock was at, it stays. You know, whatever, everything stays. The only reason you would go to the AP arrow is if there's no team control. Okay. All right. So much for those two quizzes. I'm serious. I'm gonna get back to you with that last one because for some reason I'm thinking my answer in my head is different, but I can't justify it. So I will get back about that. Okay. So tonight we are going to go through 7 and 8, right? 7 and 8 are throw in. What's 7? 7 is out of bounds and throw in, and 8 is free throw. So my talk tonight is not uber long. And And as always, feel free to jump in if you have questions. Where's my slideshow from beginning? There we go. Can y'all see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so here we are. I already said all that. Rule 7, out of bounds in the throw in. Okay, so here's some little nitnoids about out of bounds. Oops, that was too fast. Okay, so if a player with the ball touches the floor or anything other than a person out of bounds, then they're out of bounds. But if they touch a person over there, they're not out of bounds. Like if a coach is leaning over on, is standing out of bounds and somehow you brush against him or whatever. Okay, you're out of bounds if the ball touches the floor or an object, including people outside the boundary. So if you're dribbling the ball and it, like you dribble out of bounds or you dribble off the bench or you dribble off anything that's outside, it's out of bounds. If the ball hits the supports, the guide wires, the shot clock, the back of the backboard, it's out of bounds. And back when I played, if the ball touched the edge of the backboard, like if it rolled on the top, that was out of bounds too. But nowadays, it's only out of bounds if it hits the back side of the backboard. And then the last time it's out of bounds is if you have a rectangular backboard, not one of those. I haven't seen anything that's not rectangular in a long time, but the ball cannot go over the top of it. Okay. So, the old Larry Bird shoots from deep in the corner and he shoots over the back of the backboard and he makes the shot. That's illegal.
Stacy, so if the three-pointer like bounces off the front rim and goes and touches the top of the backboard and then comes back in, that's not considered out of bounds.
Correct.
And like you said, if you're like a layup gets blocked and hits the side of the backboard, it's still in play.
Yep. You
Okay.
can pretty much tell when it hits the back because the ball's going to bounce that way, right? If the ball just bounces off to the side, then it didn't touch the back, just physics, right? Okay. All right. So we talked about this a little bit. So where do you bring the ball in after any of these situations? So after a violation, you have a designated spot throw in nearest the violation. We know this. If there's the ball's dead for like a foul, then you have a designated spot throw in nearest to where the ball became dead. So nearest to where the foul was. If you have a common foul that you're not going to shoot, or an intentional foul after you shoot the free throws, the spot's going to be nearest the spot of the foul. Technical foul, after you shoot the free throws, you're going to come in at the division line opposite the table. After a made goal, you can run the end line or pass to a teammate who runs out of bounds and passes it onto the floor. Okay. I just threw in here at the bottom designated spot what the actual definition is. I'm sure I mentioned this somewhere, but just so you can see it in print. A designated spot is 3 feet wide with no depth limitation. And the only requirement is the thrower has to keep at least 1 foot on or over that 3 foot wide, that imaginary 3 foot wide area until the ball's released. Okay, so you just have to, where you're putting the ball in, and you just have to kind of guess. And most of the time, like in soccer, they run all the way down the sideline when they throw the ball in. You don't see that happen in basketball too much. Every once in a while, you will though. So you just have to tweet violation.
So Stacy, when it says over the space, that means that a person executing a throw in could jump up in the air and throw it in.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Yeah. There's no traveling.
In playing basketball, I've never done that, but that's okay, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. There's no traveling or anything like that when you're throwing the ball in. So yeah, you could jump and try to throw it in and land, and it's okay.
Really happy feet up and down, exciting, and okay.
You can do whatever you want over there, as long as you're in your area and you get the ball in 10 seconds.
That's a different rule from when I played.
Yeah, it is. I think we had traveling on throw-ins when I played, but yeah, I'm really dating myself. Okay,
It was called that for me too, so
yeah.
not that old.
So this pretty picture here is kind of what I tried to draw for you on the floor when we were at the Boys and Girls Club. So you see the arrows show where the ball's going to come in. If it's in the blue, it's going to come, or that whatever color that is. It's going to come in on the end line, but you never want to bring it in underneath the basket, because if a player tosses an overhead pass, it might hit the back of the backboard, and then that's out of bounds, and then they're going to lose the ball. So you want to give it to them outside the lane. Okay. And no matter where the, like if the foul happens right at the base of this arrow, then you just draw a line straight to the end line. Same here. Okay. If the ball's in between these two, you're going to bring it in between those two arrows on the end line, and the same on the ones that are higher. The piece that people most don't understand is that this high part of the circle is the ball comes in on the end line also. And if anything happens inside here, you just bring it to either one side or the other of the lane line. Okay. All right, throw in administration. Okay, we talked about this, I believe. You want to bounce the ball to the thrower, except on the end line in the front court where you're going to hand the ball. Okay. Once you bounce the ball to the thrower, you're going to focus your eyes on the floor and just keep track of the thrower's feet peripherally. So you don't want to stare at the thrower. The throw-in starts, these definitions are really important. The throw-in starts when the ball is at the disposal of the thrower. Okay, that means that that player has it in their hands under control. If you bounce on the ball and they kind of fumble it, just blow your whistle, get it back, and try it again. Okay, so the throw-in starts when the ball's at the disposal of the team. You have to release it within 5 seconds. And the throw-in ends when the ball is touched by a player in bounds or out of bounds, or the throw-in team commits a violation. So this is really important because, well, there's going to be an example down here. I'll get to that in a minute. An opponent of the thrower shall not penetrate the throw-in boundary plane until the ball is released. So somebody jump in here. What happens if they not only reach through, but they touch the thrower? What is that?
Technical.
Intentional foul.
Intentional foul.
Wait, they hit the ball or the player?
The player.
Oh, yes.
Okay. If they hit the ball, it's a technical.
Yeah.
Okay. If they get 2 warnings for reaching through, it's a technical. But they don't get any warning. If they reach through and they touch the player, that's an intentional foul. Okay?
Is it a dead ball intentional foul? Is there anything special about it?
No. The guy shoots the free throws, and then the ball comes right back to that spot. An intentional foul, you go to the spot where the foul happened. For the
The ball is live when the thrower has it, right?
Correct.
Even though the clock is not running.
See, that's why live ball and dead ball don't have any connection to the clock.
Right. It's
Okay.
Yeah. Confusing.
It is confusing. There's actually a clip in here that's going to highlight that very point, Matt. So hold on. Okay. If you give the ball to the wrong team, let's say you have a timeout, and then you forget which team is going to get the ball, so you give it to the wrong team. You can correct it, but you have to do it before the throw-in ends. So you give the ball to the player, you start counting. If you realize it when it's still in their hands or when it's in the air, but before it touches a player or before there's a violation, you can call it back. But as soon as a player touches the ball in bounds, too bad, so sad. You screwed up and you can't fix it. Okay. I hate that rule. All right. Okay, so there are times when teams don't come out of their huddles, don't come out of their timeouts in time. And you don't want to use this a lot, but sometimes you just have to make a point. So let's say you don't have a thrower after a timeout, like the team that's going to bring the ball in is still in their huddle. Okay. So you sound the whistle to indicate play to resume. Well, no, if the inbounding team is supposed to, is the one that's not coming out, you can put the ball on the floor and count to 5, and that's a violation, right? If the other team's going to have the ball, then they just get the ball, and if they score with no players on the floor, that's the other team's fault. Okay. I try not to use this very often, because oftentimes, especially, as the kids they get tired. And so I try to be proactive and make sure I get over to their huddles before the second horn and say, come on, let's go, so that they come out, because it really sucks if you put the ball on the floor and the team brings the ball in and scores a lay-in under their, they bring it in under their basket and they score a lay-in. But sometimes coaches are belligerent, and sometimes you just have to do it once. They won't bother you again. Okay. So let's say neither team comes out, right? So you put the ball down, you count 5, tweet, violation. And then now the other team's supposed to have the ball, and they're still in their huddle, and tweet, violation. After that, they start getting technicals. So the next team that should bring the ball in bounds, they get a technical, because you can't do that all afternoon. Okay. All right. Make sure, let me know if you can hear the audio on these. Hold on. I need to get this back. Can you hear the audio?
No,
I can't hear it.
Hold on a second. Let me stop my share and go back to share again. Come on. There we go. I didn't clip those or check these.
All right, on this play, the
Can you hear
ball
it?
goes out of bounds on the sideline that belongs
Yes.
to the lead official. It's a sideline throw-in. The lead is responsible for the throw-in. If the throw-in was below the free throw line extended, the lead could bounce the ball to the thrower. But the official's manual specifically states that in this instance, the lead official becomes the trail official and administers the sideline throw-in. Again, the critical principle here is the boxing in principle. Watch how the officials move around the players with all players in view between them. That's the key component.
Okay, did you guys get that?
sure.
So the ball goes out of bounds on the sideline. It's the lead sideline above the free throw line. So the lead has to become the trail, and the trail becomes the lead for the inbounds.
All right, on this play.
Okay.
Okay, that's the one time where you actually have a switch on and out of bounds.
Okay.
Turnover on the Coyotes. So Trojans are going to inbound against the press. They get it into O'Gean. O'Gean's pass intended for Johnson's knocked out of bounds. It's going to go back to the Trojans as they're going to, well, now they're going to have to inbounds from closer to the corner of the court. Right off the baseline. They finally get it into O'Gean. O'Gean.
The ball goes out of bounds on C's sideline. A1 stops and puts his hands up to receive the ball at the location where he is comfortable throwing the ball in at. Teams practice inbounding the ball at this spot. On this throw-in, the correct location is on the sideline. If A1 is not at the correct throw-in spot, Team A may gain an advantage or be put at a disadvantage during the throw-in.
Okay, that makes sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah, it
important
went
that you
out
get the
on the
ball.
side.
Say again?
Yeah, because it went out on the side instead of the other end, and it puts them under the basket and further away from their hoop.
Yeah, it's also, I think, harder to make a throw in from like the deep corner there than from the end line.
Yeah,
Your
easier to
angles
play defense.
are just all terrible.
For sure.
All right, what do we have here?
In regards to team control during a throw-in. Here we've got a throw-in by Team A, also a foul committed by Team A during the throw-in. The change this year to the rule clearly states, a team control foul is a common foul committed by a team that has team control, including a member of the throw-in team, from the start of the throw-in until player control is obtained in bounds.
So when does the throw in start?
When he gets the disposal
When
of
you
the
give the
ball.
player the ball.
Right, when he has the ball at his disposal. So when it says that, when it says here in the definition from the start of the throw in, that's when the player has the ball, okay?
So with the editorial change now on a team control foul, the rule now clearly states that team control includes a member of the throw-in team from the start of the throw-in until player control is obtained in bounds. So on this play, once the throw-in team has obtained control from the official, any foul committed by Team A is a team control foul. The result of this would be a non-shooting foul if we're in the bonus. In this situation, there was a bonus, and we should not have shot because of this rule.
I honestly don't know what he called for a foul, but you get the point, right? Legal or illegal?
Legal.
Why?
You have an established front court presence.
Front court status, correct.
Status.
So this is considered an exception to the over and back rule. On a throw in, if you jump from the front court, catch the ball and land in the back court, it's not a violation for that very reason, because player control hasn't been established yet. Okay?
You could even hear in the video where they're wanting the over and back call.
Oh yeah, I've been in college games where coaches are begging for that over and back. It's like, how many years have you done this? You're a college coach. All right, what do we got here? I think this is another one of this. It's the same illustration, right? Jumps up, catches the ball, lands in the backcourt. It's nothing. All right.
Cite and repeat for coaches and stakeholders of your games.
Here we go.
So on our throw-in, we know that the team control exists only for the purpose of administering fouls. And as 11 dark, it grabs the ball. He does not get control, so we do not have player control in the front court. And prior to having team control in the front court, you must have player control. And at no time does 11 in the dark jersey get control of the ball on the tap. He's going to hit it into the backcourt, and this play, him retrieving it, is totally legal, and we should play on. You must have player control in the front court in order to have team control in the front court.
Did you guys get all that? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, for those of you who coach, this play just makes me nuts. I don't know why that player just didn't go in the backcourt and get rid of the whole situation, but
No idea.
no idea.
He's begging to be trapped in the corner otherwise.
Exactly. Like he gives the guy throwing him the ball like nothing. All right, let's talk a little bit about the free throw. And this should all be stuff we talked about, but we'll go over it anyways. The administering official is going to be the lead, right? The administering official will make the ball available by bouncing the ball to the thrower. The thrower has 10 seconds. Once the thrower gets the ball, he or she has 10 seconds to release it. And the trail is counting those 10 seconds very discreetly with their hand at their side, okay? First marked lane spaces shall, that means must be occupied by opponents of the thrower. Those are the only two spaces that have to be filled with anybody. Second marked, that's lane, not land. Second marked lane spaces may be occupied by teammates of the thrower, by the free throw shooter. If they don't want them, then two more defensive players could line up there. A maximum of 4 defenders and 2 offensive players are allowed in the lane spaces. Players may move to occupy a vacant marked lane space prior to the ball being made available to the thrower. And all players must be behind, the players that aren't on the lane must be behind the free throw line extended and the 3-point line. Okay, and just as a review, there's different requirements for the players behind, the players that aren't on the lane and the players that are on the lane. Okay, so the players that are on the lane can go into the paint as soon as the ball is released. The shooter and the players behind the free throw line extended can't go until the ball touches the rim. All right. Obviously, the free throws for personal fouls shall be attempted by the offended player. If that player is injured or disqualified, then a substitute shoots the free throws. I think they started doing, I think they're still doing it, men's college, that the opposing coach gets to pick the free throw shooter, which is kind of crazy. But in high school, it's just if a player can't shoot, then that coach has to put a sub in to shoot. Free throws for technicals may be attempted by any player or eligible substitute. So technical foul gets called and you have like your worst player who happens to be your best free throw shooter sitting on the bench, they can come in to shoot the free throws. All right, let's see what we have.
Black 11 at the line, attempting a free throw when white 20 in the bottom lane space makes a hard box out into his opponent in an effort to obtain a good rebounding position. When we zoom in closer, we see that before the ball is released, white 20 breaks the plane of the lane boundary, causing a free throw lane violation. But then he continues on, swinging his elbow and contacting his opponent, causing a foul. So how is this situation handled? With a violation followed by a foul. First, you need to determine the order of when each action occurred. Since the violation by an opponent occurred first, a delayed violation is ruled, and the ball remains live to allow the free thrower to continue the free throw attempt. However, when the foul happens, the whistle must be blown and a determination must be made as to whether the act of shooting had begun. In this clip, the free thrower had started his shooting motion, so, according to the continuous motion rule, the goal would count if the try was successful. If the ball doesn't go in, like this clip, the penalties must be administered in the order in which they occurred, Start by clearing the lane and awarding a substitute free throw. Next, the ball will be given to the offended team at the spot of the foul, unless the bonus is in effect, which would result in the appropriate number of free throws. Remember, when multiple penalties must be assessed, we should always administer them in the order each action occurred. Let's watch that one last time.
Okay, any questions about that?
No.
It's important to remember, this is a really rare situation in this clip, but you'll have several times you'll have situations like a kid gets fouled and then he gets ticked off, and so he swipes at the guy or says something and gets a technical foul. So you had the first foul, the regular common foul, and then you have the technical foul. And you always do apply the penalties in the order in which the fouls happened, just like he was explaining here. Okay, so you're first, if you're going to shoot fouls because of the common foul, then you do those with nobody on the lane, and then you'll shoot the technical with nobody on the lane, and then the team who shot the technicals gets the ball at midcourt. All right.
In our next clip, as the free throw shooter is attempting his free throws, it appears that both black 20 and white 22 step into the lane before the ball is released, creating a double violation. Let's examine a little closer. Before the ball is released by the free throw shooter, white 22 indeed steps on the line, followed by black 20 stepping into the lane. However, the rules state quite clearly, unless the violations happen simultaneously, only the first player to violate is penalized, regardless of how many players may step in afterwards. And therefore, in this play, since white 22 steps out of his marked lane space first, play is whistled dead and all other activity is ignored. Let's watch that one more time.
We're not going to watch it one more time. Are you good with that?
Well, sort of all other activities ignored unless it's a foul, right?
Unless it's an intentional or unless it's more than just a regular foul.
Well, let's just say in this case, the guy that violates second, what if he swings an elbow into the player that violated first, just like the other clip?
If you think that if that foul on its own merits would be an intentional foul or greater, then it's assessed. If it's a common foul, then it's wiped away.
Okay.
Okay.
That helps.
Yeah. So again, there's a lot of judgments, in basketball, there's a lot of judgments. If it's a regular old foul and he blocks him out and pushes him backwards, that's easy. But if elbows get involved, then you have to decide, did he do it on purpose? What was his intent? Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. All right, what do we have here?
Make it a violation for an opponent of the thrower to enter the semicircle and a foul for them to contact the thrower if it is more than incidental contact prior to the ball hitting the basket or backboard. All right, let's look at a couple of examples. First off, positioning where to stand as the C or as trail in two-person. The mechanics manual says halfway between the nearer lane line and the sideline. So we'd want to be about here, and we want to be just behind the free throw line. So possibly right about here on the court would be a good spot. We're responsible for these two players on the lane and the thrower. In two-person, we're responsible as well for players violating beyond the arc. So we want to position ourselves so that we can certainly see these three players to detect if they violate or not. And usually that's going to have to be up a step. I personally like to stand right about here, right about here. It's a good place to start. All right. Official properly has a silent count. But you see, when the ball is released, raises the hand and turns the shoulders, right? Immediately blocking view of these players here. We're now going to have to ensure that we open up our shoulders and our body and officiate any players coming in who may violate the semicircle. Another example. Now this official has a
This official has a much better position is what he's trying to say, but he's still kind of close to the sideline.
Our official has a great angle on the play, a little close to the sideline. Notice the open look on the players here, keeping the shoulders open, stepping down for rebounding action, but not giving up on this responsibility here as well. Bottom line, we have more to do.
Okay. I told you it wasn't going to be a very long one. No, it's almost 7 o'clock. I didn't realize it was that late. So, yeah, make sure you understand that whole live ball, dead ball thing. Has no connection to the clocks. In some ways, a lot of it's not intuitive. You just have to learn the rules, and at some point they just become ingrained. Okay. Anybody have any questions about these things? These two rules? All right. I'm gonna, since you're gonna be working on the quizzes, and we don't have another class set up, I'm gonna have one more Zoom meeting with you, and I'm not sure when it's gonna be, but soon, maybe Thursday, maybe next Monday. And we'll go over these two quizzes, and we'll go over how to set your availability and how to get your games and all that stuff. Okay. I'm also I asked John today if he could give me a couple games on Saturday, like we used last Saturday, to get a little more running on the floor. It's not required for those of you who already did it. It's not required, but if you want to get the reps in, it would be great for you to show up. But I'll let you know if he gives me those games or not. Okay. Yeah. And the more reps you get when you're getting some help, I think it just makes it easier that when you actually go on the floor and it's just you and your partner. Okay. Kira, you're so noisy. Please don't say so much.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Oh, thank you.
Just Jonathan, I like for when we do start working games, like what is the typical show up time for a game versus game time?
For rec games, probably 15 minutes early, 15 to 30. It depends, if you have to put your shoes on and stuff. You want to be ready to go and talk with your partner, by 15 before the game. But the gyms, there's not a lot of extra room in some of these gyms. They get really cramped, so you don't need to get there uber early. For school games, you probably want to get there a little bit, at least a half an hour early. In the non-COVID times when you would show up to the gym not dressed in your ref stuff, then you'd get there like 45 an hour early so you could change and have your pregame and all that stuff. But right now, since we have to show up to the gym dressed and we leave dressed, the times are a little bit shorter than they typically are. What I normally do is I'll contact my partners. Like if I have games, like last night, I looked for my games for this week, and I sent texts to, via the Arbiter app. Well, you don't know because you haven't seen it, but there's a way you have your assignments on a phone app, and then there's a link to say text your partners. And so on Sunday, I'll text my partners for all the games that I have that week, and I'll just say, hey, this is Stacy. We have a game at Mercer Island. Tip is at 7. I'll be there at 6:30. Please confirm. And that way everybody knows what gym you're going to, what time. And don't just say, make sure you're clear about what time is tip and what time you're showing up. Okay. You good?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm at it. I'll be in touch with you guys with this last few pieces of your training. I would say by next week you should be getting games. Awesome. All right.
Thanks, Dave.
All
Have
right.
a good night,
Thank you.
guys.
All right, have a great night.
Everybody.